Hello everyone, welcome on in. It is a betting weekly game bet match special. The Wimbledon Championships are finally upon us. We've been speaking about it for weeks, but now the action starts on Monday at the All England Tennis Club. The draw has been commenced, it's been done. If you watched the draw show today, thank you very much for watching us. If you haven't joined the show, make sure you subscribe to the show. It's the first time you've seen us, make sure you subscribe. We want to hit 10,000 subscribers during this championship, and with your help, we can do so. My name is Nigel Seeley. I'm your host here for the next 45 minutes or so, and I'm joined by our senior ATP Tour handicapper. It is Mr. Sean Calvert, who has been looking through the draw this morning. He's been delving through it in the hot heat. And the one thing we've got to say, I can imagine the Carlos Alcaraz camp are very happy with what they got this morning.
Yeah, I'm sure they are. Yeah, I mean, it's quite a nice draw for Alcaraz. We can see that. I mean, you obviously were doing this live earlier on, so you've probably had, quite a good look at it as well. I mean, it does look like quite a decent draw for Alcaraz, but I still think there's a few players in his section that are dangerous. He's away from Djokovic. I think that's and Draper. I think that's basically it. I think the rest of it is, it's not. I don't think it's that easy. I'm not sure I'll be backing Alcaraz at what is it, 2.25 to 4, plus 125. Around about that.
Well, there was a big move for him. The minute the draw was announced, he got bet straight in, and now the market's settled. He's drifting back out again to about plus 135. So
Not surprised,
the initial reaction was everyone thinking this is a great draw. He's away from those, but the market is now drifting a little bit. He's currently plus 120 with Bet Rivers, but I think the market is actually going against him a little bit. But I mean, I know he hasn't got Djokovic, he hasn't got Draper, but I mean, really, we're going to come on to it a little bit, but I mean, he's going to be much more happier than Sinner. I mean, Sinner's got a tough old section, isn't he? Especially in Q2.
I don't think it's that. I don't think Sinner's draw's that tricky, to be honest. I mean, he's got Luka Nardi first up, Shapovalov.
But it's more the semi-finals and quarter-finals onwards, isn't it? Once he gets to the semi-finals, the one who's had the nightmares, Jack Draper. There's no doubt about it. He's had an absolute nightmare. But I suppose when he can get through the quarter, he's pretty fairly comfortable. He's a heavy minus money favourite to do so. But his semi-final opponent is the one that you would be a little bit more worried about than Alcaraz if he got there. So the latter stages, that would probably be the concern.
Yeah, I mean, I would be honest. If I was backing one, someone said to me, "You got to back Sinner or Alcaraz," I would take Sinner personally. I can talk about that in more detail a bit later on, but they're head to head between Sinner and Alcaraz. It's 100-100. It's so tight. I mean, Alcaraz has won the last 5, I think. But he was behind in all of them 5. He's won on just basically raising his level at the right time because there's 0 between them in terms of their service points won and return points won totals. And people seem to have forgotten that Sinner was a point away from beating Alcaraz in straight sets on his worst surface at the French Open. If he'd have won one more point, we wouldn't be talking about it like we are at the minute. We'd be looking at it very differently. So, yeah, I mean, I would personally. People that know me, they're not going to expect me to back a short price favourite. Sinner Alcaraz is very, very likely of the two. I would personally plump for Sinner if that's.
I think the market. I mean, the way I looked at it, right, is obviously that there is you're going to sort of counteract this slightly, but I thought if Sinner got to the final and played Alcaraz, just by giving Sinner's draw, I think he would have had a lot more court time
Maybe.
than Alcaraz. And I just thought there may be a little bit of a rebase if Sinner has come through some long matches. Say, for example, he played Draper or Djokovic in the semi-final, compared to Alcaraz, who may play a Zverev or a Fritz or a Medvedev. I thought that match might be in for longer, so you might get an exhausted Sinner coming in. And that was where I thought there may be a little rebase in the draw, that the fact that the semi-final opponent might be a lot more difficult for Sinner. But
Possibly.
Saying that, I mean, Draper could be exhausted playing Bublik, then Sika, then Djokovic. It could work out either way, and that's what it's about. It's all about opinions here and looking at different where the value is. That's really what we're trying to do.
That's the hard part. If you're talking about value in a men's major, yeah, it's incredibly difficult to do. It has been for the last 15 odd years. Do you want me to talk about the conditions and the trends?
Yes, exactly.
The trends I'll do in a minute, but as far as the conditions are concerned, it's a lot. People that are as old as me that used to watch Wimbledon years and years ago. It's not that anymore. It's nothing like that. It's not this serve and volley. I mean, I think I saw a stat the other day. I think 33% of the points at Wimbledon used to be serve and volley points back in the day. Now it's something like 12% or something. It's totally different conditions. It's much easier for players to play on now than the grass was, 15, 20 years ago. It only averages 82% holds of serve, 73.3% first serve points won in the last 4 editions since COVID. Now that makes it slower than Mallorca, Queen's Club, Rosmalen, and a lot slower than Stuttgart and Halle. So that is where we're at. And if you're looking at an outright market where Bublik is the 5th favourite, I think, he's got let's take Bublik as an example, he's got a much harder job on his hands to win in much slower conditions over a longer format, best of 5 sets, rather than slick, quick, 1-week grass over the best of 3 in Halle, which he showed his best form, obviously. Just going on with some more of the conditions, 53% of the matches here feature a tie break, but that's kind of misleading as well because it's obviously played over a longer format. 3, 4, or 5 sets, you're going to get obviously more likelihood of a tie break. Over 10.5 games in set 1, only 29% of the matches in the last 4 editions have gone over 10.5 games in set 1. So if you're betting that, which is not something I would do that often at Wimbledon these days, you would want odds of 3.45 plus 245 as an average for that particular bet. And now underdog winners, my favourite part of this show, underdog winners 24% on average. Weirdly, the best round for underdog winners is round 2, 3, and 4 at 27%. Round 1 only equals 24%, which is the tournament average. Now, if you'd bet every single underdog in the last 9 editions to a $10 stake, you would have been down by $1,818.27. But weirdly, if you'd bet every underdog in round 4 only in the last 9 editions, you would actually have made a slight profit. 6 of the last round 4s, you would have made a profit betting every single underdog. It's quite a strange statistic there. As far as the trends are concerned, dominated by the market leaders. I mean, 6 of the last 10 editions have been won by the number 1 seed. You would have to go back all the way to probably Goran Ivanisevic in 2001 for the last decent priced winner of Wimbledon. They've all been, either odds on or slight odds against, maybe 3 or 4 to 1, 5 to 1 at the best. Doesn't normally happen. There's been a few decent price finalists over the years. Kyrgios 28 to 1 3 years ago. Berrettini was 16 to 1 the year before in 2021, and Kevin Anderson 80 to 1 back in 2018. Now, the interesting trend for me, if you are thinking of betting Alcaraz at this very short price, is that no player since Bjorn Borg, no man anyway, since Bjorn Borg has won the French Open and Wimbledon back-to-back 2 years in a row. Alcaraz won Wimbledon and French last year. If he's going to do it again this year, he'll be doing something that not even Nadal, Federer, or Djokovic have done, which is to win both tournaments back-to-back in 2 consecutive years.
So there we have. We already have our first difference of opinion on the draw that Sean has made the case. He's already planted a seed in my mind, thinking that the bet I just had of the Alcaraz to win his tournament. 11
I'm not saying he's not going to win. I'm just saying those are the trends.
I was massively in a Yannick Sinner camp, and I know a lot of people would have subscribed to the newsletter, which was done before the draw, and I made a big case for Yannick Sinner. When I saw the draw, I just thought, Alcaraz, he's got to be perfect.
I think Alcaraz has got a few tough players, in that draw.
Going to come on to that draw in the quarters in a minute. Remember, this is the outright show. This is the show that we're giving you the outright picks on the quarters with Bet Rivers and the tournament winner. We have the best bets for round 1 tomorrow. That show will be recorded tomorrow, as well as the WTA show. So the shows today are the tournament winner prices to future bets on the men's and the women's championship at Wimbledon. This is the men's show. Before we go into, let's have a look at those previous winners. As you said, Alcaraz won it the last 2 years. Novak Djokovic has won it 4 years consecutively before that. He's been in the last 6 finals, Novak Djokovic. An amazing run of form. Can he still do it at his age? Federer, Murray, Djokovic, Murray again. The last time it wasn't won by Alcaraz, Djokovic, Federer or Murray was way, way, way back in the year 2002, won by Leighton Hewitt. So it has been won by those players so many times. This is a market that's been dominated by favourites, as Sean has said, and favourites will do well. The one thing that is really important for Wimbledon, and the one thing we always discuss, is the weather. And the start of the tournament's going to be really, really hot, blisteringly hot Monday and Tuesday, but its temperature's going to drop after that.
Yeah, I'm there Monday, actually. I'm there Monday and Thursday, so I've got...
You need a fan. Or you need
I'll be all right.
Cool air.
That'll be a breeze compared to Mallorca. 33, that's nothing. I'll be fine with that. Monday and Tuesday, as you said, 33 degrees, so very, very hot for British standards. And then it dips quite a bit to 20. What is more like a British summer's day, 24 degrees on Wednesday. And I'm also going Thursday, which is supposed to be raining, and 19 degrees. So the hot spell's not going to last for long. But the rest of the tournament, looking at the long-range forecast, looks absolutely fine. Around about 24, 25 degrees for the rest of the tournament. So a blisteringly hot start, followed by a bit of rain when I'm there on Thursday. But I think I'm on a show court on Thursday, so I think I'll have at least something to watch because of the roof or whatever. And then a pretty solid 24, 25 for the rest of the tournament.
You can follow Sean on our socials at Because We Win. He's at Wimbledon to give you any information he bets he wants to have in play on what is going to be a very, very hot opening day. So follow us on all our socials at Because We Win. Talking to Mallorca, Sean, you had a bit of a delay on the plane coming back. 5-hour delay.
Plus, yeah, it was about 6.5 in the end. It was
just think of just think of the refund. Think of the refund.
You only get £220. That's it.
All of you do. All you.
No, they weren't
Sasha
on that
and
flight,
Lagan.
were they? They flew back earlier. They were only there for a few days. They flew back because obviously Lagan had to go to school. It was inset days that he had, which meant that he was able to go. But he flew back way early. He flew back on the Tuesday. It was me on my own, which is good. I don't think I want Lagan in a 6.5-hour delay. To be honest, I don't. That happened in Umag last year, didn't it? To both of us, both on different flights, both had that delay. Yeah, it was a strange one. I got up early. I was ready to go at 11:20 was the flight time, and I got a text saying that there's a problem with the plane. And as soon as they say that, that's the first seed planted in your mind that thinks this is going to be a long delay. But it just kept getting to. I tell you exactly what happened. The first plane had 2 flat tires, believe it or not, and that the replacement tires were supposed to turn up. This is the outbound flight from Southend to Mallorca. They were supposed to turn up the previous night. They didn't turn up. They were then supposed to turn up at the very, very early in the morning on the day of the flight. They didn't turn up then either because someone had a crash on the M25 near Dartford, and that didn't turn up. So they had to bring the replacement plane, which was fine. They had that. They got everyone onto the replacement plane, got onto the runway, just about to start. Pilot noticed there was something wrong with that plane as well, some technical fault. Everybody out, back to the gate. Then they had to fly another plane from Gatwick to Southend to get the guys out from Southend to Mallorca, and obviously that took a heck of a long time, and there was delays as well because they lost their slot and all this sort of stuff. So yeah, that was interesting. It wasn't too bad because I wasn't at the airport. I was just sitting around by the beach, so it wasn't too bad.
Now, you may have tuned in thinking you're watching a tennis show.
You're not.
But this is Travels with Calvert across European travel delays. Let's get back to the tennis, and we have some odds with Bet Rivers. We're going to break down each quarter. The draw was obviously made. We're going to start off with Q1, where Yannick Sinner, number 1 seed, is in. He has Shapovalov in there, his opponent in round 32. If it goes to seedings, Dimitrov, Tommy Paul, Shelton, Humbert, Nakashima, Musetti are beaten semi-finalists last year. So a favourable quarter for the number 1 seed. As you can see by the bet, he's minus 275 with Bet Rivers. Lorenzo Musetti is $10. Tommy Paul, $10. Ben Shelton, $12. And then some big prices, the rest of them. Minus 275. I know you don't like betting your favourites, but is there any potential banana skins for Yannick Sinner here?
Possibly. I mean, I wouldn't have thought so. I can't. I think the problem with these guys is, unless you get them really early, a big shock early, like, when Van der Zandschulp beat Alcaraz or something like that, and which can happen in the first, couple of rounds. Unless you get them beaten early, they tend to be settled in once you get to the later stages. It's hard to see Nardi doing much, or, the likes of Vukic or, Shapovalov. It just doesn't seem likely that Sinner would fall to any of them. And the next quarter, I mean, Tommy Paul is on his day a very decent grass court player. He could certainly test Yannick Sinner, but you wouldn't have thought that he would beat him over the best of 5 sets. Just looking else down in this other section of the draw, Hamed Medjedovic is dangerous. Shelton, as I've said all along, hasn't done it at all yet on grass. His return game is still all over the place. If it clicks, he can be dangerous because he tends to play his best tennis at majors. That's a happy habit that he's got. It wouldn't particularly surprise me if he went a few rounds. I don't see him beating Yannick Sinner over the best of 5. Humbert's coming into some decent form. Hugo Humbert coming into some nice form at the minute on the grass, but I'm not sure who else. Musetti obviously made semi-finals here last year. He's got a tough round 1 against Basilashvili if Basil is on one of his go days. I'm not sure I can see Sinner not winning that section. Humbert, I think, could be dangerous. Tommy Paul, yeah, Massetti, I don't know. It's got to be Sinner for me, I'm afraid. The statistics on Sinner, actually, one of the reasons I went for Sinner, if in a pick'em, if you like, against Alcaraz, he's actually got a better record in terms of service points won and return points won totals at Wimbledon than Alcaraz does. He's got 109 total, Sinner. Alcaraz only 107. If you go back to Alcaraz last year, I'll probably talk about it a bit later. Every match was a real struggle for him until the final. He didn't play his best tennis at all last year here until the final. But Q1, I can't. Unless Dimitrov suddenly finds some form from about 10 years ago, or more accurately, the fitness and the physique from that long ago. I don't see it now.
Yeah, Yannick Sinner will be a popular bet to win Q1 with Bet Rivers, -275. You're not going to get much money for the world number one, but given a favourable draw, there are a couple of people who we think could push him close. But we expect Yannick Sinner to be lining up in the semi-finals in a couple of weeks' time. Move on to Q2 then. This Monday is a very, very open quarter, and it's headed by that man who's been to 6 Wimbledon finals, Novak Djokovic. Alexander Bublik is involved there, and that will be an interesting matchup. If you look at the draw, it'd be Draper Bublik in round 3, Kaboli against Mensik potentially if Kaboli gets that far. Mensik as well, obviously great serve, but nothing else other than behind that serve. Diminor is maybe playing Quinton Hallis, who potentially could get through there. And Mickelson, who is doing well for us at the moment, he's our pick in the tournament over in Mallorca. He's in semi-final action in a minute, waiting to see who plays Grigspor in the final, and he will be playing Novak Djokovic into the last 32 if they get that far. In the odds, Djokovic is +170, Bublik +275. I could not bet Bublik +275 with counterfeit money. Jack Draper +275. That suggests that Draper and Bublik will be a pick and match. I think I'll have to bet Draper if there's a pick and match. Yeah. Best of 5. Jakob Mensik is $9, Diminor 14, Alex Mickelson 28. Marin Cilic will be a second round opponent for Draper, but this version of Marin Cilic isn't the one that won the US Open a few years ago. Thomas Mahak is +28 to 1. Bublik is, Djokovic is obviously the player who's got the true history, but obviously ages against him. But Bublik at +275. If there is a market, there is an overreaction to anybody player. But Alexander Bublik at +275 to win this quarter has got to be the most over bet or worst price I've seen on the market so far.
Yeah, I don't know who's betting Bublik at +275. Apologies if you are and I've offended you, but it's not a good price, is it? The people that are thinking that Bublik, he's played so, and he's played great at the French Open in unsuitable conditions. He played great in Halle, but this is very different. Halle is a 1 week tournament where the conditions, they stay pretty much the same. It's only like 5-6 days or whatever. The grass doesn't get particularly worn. It does towards the end, but not like Wimbledon. The second week of Wimbledon and the first week are very different. The courts harden up. It plays more like a hard court in the second week, and it's not quick. I've talked about the stats earlier on in the show. Halle is a quick tournament. There's a tiny hint of altitude there. The grass it's not like an old fashioned grass court tournament. If this tournament, on Monday was being played on the grass that it was 20 odd years ago, then I'd give Bublik a chance. But and over the best of 5 as well is the obvious other thing to say. It's easier to beat a Sinner over, or a Djokovic over the best of 3 sets in an ATP 500. It's a very different kettle of fish beating them over the best of 5 sets at a major. If this is saying Djokovic is only going to be not that much of a favourite if he played Bublik, I'm not much of a favourite backer, but I think I'd be all over Novak Djokovic there.
But if you look at this market, the Bublik price is just so glaringly wrong. Obviously, it's saying Novak's going to be a very, very slight favourite against Bublik. It also says that you got to remember as well, Bublik plays Draper in round 3, so one of them's going to go out. Mensik has got to play Kaboli to get to the last 16. His route to the last 16 is a much easier route than Bublik. Mm-hmm. And then you're saying that Mensik against Bublik is like going to be at 9 to 2.75 is equivalent of like a -225 shot.
I think.
That's not far off a pick and match, though, is it?
I think they played here last year, Mensik and Bublik, if I remember rightly. I think it went 5 sets. I think one of them was 2 sets up and lost. if I remember rightly. I'll just quickly check that. But
I'll find you go through your stats. I'll find that for you. Gone.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they played at Wimbledon last year. But I mean, Mensik was talking about, I mentioned him. You mentioned that a couple of guys fancied him for Queens, and I said I'm not convinced. Mensik himself said he was like an elephant on roller skates on grass last year. He's slightly better this year, but it's not a surface that he's adapted to just yet. It's the movement as well. I mean, obviously, the more matches he plays on it, the more accustomed he will be. And as you said, his draw is pretty decent. Got Hugo Gaston in the first round. It's very difficult to see him losing that. And Caboli, guy that doesn't like grass much. And you've got Alex of Echeverry and Ugo Carabelli in that little section. You would think that Mensik would certainly come through that. But yeah, Bublik, I mean, he's not got an easy first round. Munar is not an easy out on grass these days. That's not going to be easy for Bublik. Then he probably play Marijan, who hasn't really adapted to the grass yet. And then Marin Cilic is in there, as you said. He's been playing pretty well in the challenges on the grass. He hasn't played main level for a bit. He's been getting himself back to his best level, if you like, at challenges. It'd be interesting to see what he can bring to the party. I think that'll be an interesting match against Jack Draper in round 2. Now that's the sort of thing that if you're betting Draper, you don't want him going like a long 5-setter with Cilic, and then having to play, Bublik as well, and then maybe Mensik. So it's not a particularly great price on Jack Draper either. He wasn't exactly convincing in Queens. I know he had the sickness there. It was laryngitis or tonsillitis or something that he had there. Again, another one of our outrights that was a little bit under the weather, shall we say. But it just looks a nice draw for Novak Djokovic, doesn't it? I mean, Alexandra Muller's not going to be easy in the first round, but you would expect Djokovic to get through that. And then there's not a lot else in there. I mean, Alex Mickelson, obviously, we're hoping that he's going to make the Mallorca final today. He could be tricky, but the one that interests me actually is Diminor here at 14-1. I just wonder if he's just been sort of forgotten about a little bit. I mean, I certainly couldn't back Bublik at 275, nor Jack Draper. Mensik, possibly, slightly more tempting. But Diminor, 14-1, he's been forgotten about. He had that nightmare against Bublik at the French Open, 2 sets up and lost. Didn't look good either at Queens when I saw him against Lehechka, but he's not going to stay struggling, for the rest of the season, is he? He's going to come back at some point, and why not here on his best surface? It's a tall order for Diminor to make the actual final, but I think he's probably the best bet. If you're betting in quarter 2 and you fancy a bit of value, I would certainly be thinking about Diminor at that price. He's got to beat Novak Djokovic, but this is not vintage Novak Djokovic. We haven't seen Djokovic, have we, on a grass court so far this summer? So I would probably be maybe tempted to a little bit of pizza money on Diminor there. I think he looks like he's got some prospects in here. Cilic is interesting as well. Mahak is also interesting if he manages to figure out the movements on grass. He's got a game that I've always said would suit grass if he was to have the right attitude and to get the movements right. He could be dangerous as well. So very, very interesting quarter, I think, Q2. Probably be tempted with Diminor if I was having a little bet there.
Yeah, Diminor 14-1. If you're looking at that match between Bublik and Mensik, it was the first round of Wimbledon last year. Mensik won the first 2 sets and Bublik come back and beat 3 sets to 2. Yeah. And he started off that match at -125, but obviously since then he's won a 1,000 event in Miami.
And he beat Bublik very easily. Sorry, on the clay. And do you remember that match? It was in Madrid. And it was the one where Bublik was sat talking to the umpire, Mohamed Layani, and moaning about how easy tennis used to be and now it's really difficult because he got to play the likes of Mensik. So that says it all, really.
Yeah, and one's plus 275 and one's $9. The massive fade in Q2 is Bublik. We're pretty in agreement there. There's ways you can play it. Head across to the BetRivers website, download the app as well. Remember to subscribe to the channel and also give us a like here and follow us, subscribe us. We need 10,000 subscribers. Come on, we can do it. We've got 2 weeks to do it. Come on, let's get it done for Wimbledon.
We must be close by now.
Q3 is interesting. I think about 400 short.
Yeah,
400 short.
We'll get there,
we'll
get subscribing.
Okay. Yeah, get subscribed. Hit that button. Q3, interesting quarter. Probably the most interesting bet. Well, it is the most interesting betting quarter, bar none. Alexander Zverev tops the market. If you look at the way it's going to go, Fritz has been given a very, very difficult match. Impetri Perigard round 1, Diallo in round 2. I mean, that's very, very
And then
tough.
maybe a Davidovich Fokina.
Davidovich Fokina is playing well. Popperin and Medvedev. Medvedev, obviously, a two-time semi-finalist here. Hercash, he's actually he's pulled out the tournament, Hercash, just now.
Has he?
So Hercash isn't involved. Yeah, Hercash is out.
Okay.
So Kachanov might not be playing Hercash. Berrettini, is he fit? His events Zverev. Now, Zverev heads the market at $3. There may be some change in this market because of the Hercash news here. But Zverev has never got past the round of 16 at Wimbledon.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's got a very, very average record at Wimbledon. Medvedev has an exceptionally good record at Wimbledon. He's the next in the betting here at plus 350. Taylor Fritz obviously got to the quarterfinals, plus 350 before. Kachanov does well at majors at $10. Davidovich into 16. Berrettini, the real interesting one, Berrettini. I mean, is he fit? If he's fit, 16-1 to win Q3 is massive. But we have big, big question marks about his fitness. And finally, Gabriel Diallo, who has been in sensational grass court form, winning the tournament, Herdigan Bosch. He's 18-1 to win Q3, but he is awaiting the winner of Fritz and Mpetsi Berregard in round number 2, if he gets past round number 2. Looking at it, I mean, Zverev at $3. I mean, his form at Wimbledon isn't anything to justify favouritism in this quarter. Surely, this is a tough quarter. Look at them names. Anyone could beat anybody here.
Yeah, I like Medvedev here. I probably won't bet him to win the quarter. I'll probably take him outright each way, actually, at 60-1, which I think is a very generous price that Bet Rivers have come up with there. Just if we talk about Zverev first, as you said, he's never made the quarterfinals here. Doesn't like the grass. You know, it's too low bouncing for him. He doesn't like low bouncing surfaces. I don't think he's won a tournament on grass. I don't think he's ever won one, has he? Maybe he's won Halle back in the dim and distant past. I don't think he has. I think he made a couple of finals there. Anyway, his grass court record is poor. He's certainly never troubled the second week, particularly at Wimbledon. No quarter final here. Medvedev has got a great record against Zverev anyway on all surfaces. He's just beaten him in Halle on the grass last week, and it's about, you know, if those two play, just looking a little bit ahead. You know, if they played in the quarterfinals, which I would doubt Zverev would get there, but you never know. He does keep that ball very low, Medvedev. He's very flat hits, and on the grass, it's not bouncing up at all. Maybe a bit more in the second week, but I just think the conditions here definitely suit Medvedev. If you look at what he's done here, Medvedev, he's got a 75% win rate at this tournament. Service points won and return points won, total of 105, and a service hold and break total of 109. Now, that total of 105 is only 2 points behind Alcaraz. Alcaraz is on 107, which isn't that great for a guy that's, you know, won this tournament, you know, a couple of times. You know, a guy that's played so well here in recent years. It's not that great. 107. It's good, obviously, but it's not so good that you think, oh, he's unbeatable at this tournament. Far from it for me. Only 2 points better than Medvedev. He's made the semi-finals the last 2 years. Lost to the same man each time. Carlos Alcaraz. That could well happen again. Looking at this draw, but it's not a given. You know, everybody thought, and myself included, everybody thought that Medvedev would lose to Alcaraz in the US Open semi-final a couple of years ago. I didn't see how Medvedev could win that match, but he won it, and he won it pretty well in 4 sets. You know, Alcaraz has played a lot of tennis on the clay court season in particular. You know, I just don't think it's a given for him. But those are the statistics as far as Medvedev's concerned. Fritz, as you said, has got a nightmare draw. He's got Mpetsi Berregard in the first round. Diallo, then probably Davidovich Fokina, who's more than capable on grass. And then he'd probably, you know, end up having to play Medvedev after that. And you want to back him at what, plus 350 to win the quarter? Not for me. Kachanov I never like on grass. Particularly Hercash, just said, it's pulled out. Berrettini is the interesting one. You would have thought that he's not fit. I mean, otherwise, why wouldn't he play like Stuttgart or Halle or Queens or any of those grass court tournaments? It's very unusual for him just to turn up at Wimbledon and play. I know I think he's played at the one of the exhibitions, Hurlingham or the Boodles. I think he's played there, but it just says to me that he isn't fit. Otherwise, why wouldn't he play on his best surface? Why wouldn't he play at least 2 of the weeks? It just seems a bit off to me. Diallo is very, very interesting. Indeed, he looked a bit tired yesterday against Greek Sport, but you know, he could be a match for Taylor Fritz here. So Fritz for me, definitely not at those prices. I would take Medvedev, but I would take him on the outright at 60-1 rather than the plus 350. But if you are betting in this quarter three, I would go with Medvedev.
Yeah, Medvedev there plus 3. I mean, you're going to come on to the outright market. You sort of alluded to there that you quite like Medvedev on the outright market, but you think about it, he's plus 350 to make the semi-finals, but he's 60-1 to win it. So he's 30-1 to make the final. So he jumps from plus 350 to make the semi-final to 30-1.
Yeah, it doesn't make much sense, does it?
That means he's going to be about an 8-1 shot whoever he plays in the semi-final, which really doesn't make sense. It means that logic of betting him to win it outright on the each-way market is much better than
I would say so. Yeah.
We're going to come on to that outright market in a minute, but before we do so, we're going to finalise the quarter play with the quarter four, where Carlos Alcaraz is the heaviest favourite on the card, minus 333. The draw has reacted. He has been bet on the outright market, and he has been very heavily bet on Q4. Lehechka's in there, Holger Rune, Fonseca, Tiafoe, Rublev, Anisim, Tsitsipas. The draw will go something like this. Rune against Griekspoor. Griekspoor has just made the final in the tournament over in Eastbourne. Mallorca. He just beat Fiji Alexim. So he's in good form. He will play Rune if that gets to the seedings. Lehechka will play Tiafoe. We then have Tsitsipas up against Rublev and Felix Auger-Aliassime against Alcaraz. We also have Fonseca in that draw as well. And we have Francis Tiafoe and Felix Auger-Aliassime and Stefanos Tsitsipas as well. 28-1 Stefanos Tsitsipas, minus 333 Alcaraz. Ranging the prices between those. You said that Alcaraz might have some problems in his section. Well, who do you think is going to cause him some problems here?
Well, Tiafoe should have beaten him last year at Wimbledon. He was a tiebreak away from beating Carlos Alcaraz last year here. And that we know Tiafoe is a very much like Shelton. He turns up for Grand Slams, doesn't really turn up for anything else. That's a possibility. I think all of it. I mean, Holger Rune's beaten Alcaraz on clay recently, beat him in Barcelona final. He's a possibility. Lehechka ran him pretty close in the Queen's Club final, a week or so ago. Fonseca, I was impressed with against Taylor Fritz. He could have won that match against Taylor Fritz. Arguably should have won that match. He was well ahead on the stats, Fonseca, against Fritz for the vast majority of that match. Even at the end of the match, it was dead level. So Fonseca, a little bit unlucky there. If he gets through to the second week and the courts become a little easier to play on, he could be very interesting. Felix has got the weapons to do something here. The thing with Alcaraz is I watched pretty much all his matches last year, even his first round against Marc Layal, which I watched on centre court. I think it was 7-6, 7-6 or 7-6, 7-5 the first couple of sets against Layal. Pretty much everybody tested him. Even Vukic, first set of that one went to a tie break. Tommy Paul had his chances. Humbert had his chances. Tiafoe could and maybe should have beaten Alcaraz there last year. The thing with Alcaraz, that's why his stats aren't that great. 107 total, because he's just winning these matches by just raising his level when he's in danger, and you can't always do that. You can't always rely on that being there at the right time. It's a happy knack, and it's a the sign of a great champion, you could probably argue, but I think he could. I mean, Fabio Fognini in the first round, if this was 5 years ago, I might be interested in Fabio doing something, but there's some very difficult names in here. I don't think it's a cakewalk of a draw at all. If he plays like he did last year, let's put it that way, if he plays like he did in the first 4 or 5 rounds last year, then I wouldn't be surprised if one of these beat him. I can't see it being Tsitsipas. He's nothing on grass, really. This link up with Ivanisevic is interesting, but he's not a miracle worker, Goran. Rublev, you wouldn't necessarily have thought on grass. He's another one that's having problems at the minute. He's got obviously Marat Safin's trying to resurrect his career, but the likes of Tiafoe, Fonseca, Rune, Lehechka, I think even Felix on a good day, they could give Alcaraz a lot of problems. And if he has days like this year, like he had last year, then it wouldn't be that surprising if one of them beat him. I mean, it's obviously the balance of probabilities are that Alcaraz will probably get through, but I'm trying to say that I don't think it's an absolute certainty in this section.
No, Alcaraz is the favourite, minus 333. He is the favourite to win the tournament as well. There are some dangerous opponents there, as Sean has alluded to. Francis Tiafoe pushed him close. Fonseca, the young talented player there. He's got a tough first round match, I think, Fonseca. I can't remember who he plays. He's got a difficult first round match. I do know that, but I can't remember off the top of my head.
Jacob.
So
Furman,
and I think the winner then plays a tough match.
Greek
So
sport
there
after
are
that,
some Greek sport does it. So they have some dangerous opponents in there. But Carlos Alcaraz is the favourite at -333 at Bet Rivers. Remember, if you head across to the Bet Rivers app, download the app, you'll be able to see all these prices. But tomorrow we'll be looking at the matches, and now we're looking at the outright market. And we say at the top of the market there, Carlos Alcaraz is +120, Yannick Sinner is +190. We know the section of the draw they're in. We know the possibilities of the dangerous opponents we have because we've just broken it down for the last 30 minutes or so. Djokovic is +6 Jack Draper is 13. I'd want a bit more than that. Zverev is 33. How can Bublik be 40-1 and Jack Draper be 13 and yet they both be +275 for the quarter?
I don't know.
Shows you what a crazy price Bublik is. 40-1 for Taylor Fritz, 60-1 for Medvedev. I think we're going to be going there. Lehechka 60-1, Shelton 90. And then look at that. I mean, he's 121 bar that. So you've only got single figure prices, about the top three in the betting now, Alcaraz, Sinner and Djokovic. It has been dominated by favourites. I think you'd probably be leaning towards Yannick Sinner, as you said. But Medvedev is probably the man that you want to have a little bit of interest in here.
I think, yeah, from an outright value perspective, and that's kind of what I try and do on this show where possible. I would certainly say I think 60-1 is a bit generous. And I think if something does happen to Alcaraz, be it physical or just be it him not being that great as he was 12 months ago, as I said, he didn't play well for most of the tournament last year. Still ended up winning it, but he might not be so fortunate to escape again. And if he doesn't, then someone like a Medvedev is much more likely for me to take advantage than the rest, some of this lot in that bottom half of the draw. I'd say Fritz has got a nightmare draw. I can't really see anybody else. Zverev is nothing for me on grass. Bublik too short. Lehechka is dangerous. I would be interested in him maybe potentially beating Alcaraz on his day. Can't see him then having the consistency to go on and make the final. Shelton is a real work in progress on grass. Diminor is interesting if you want an each way in the top half of the draw. Again, he's got to beat Djokovic and Sinner. I'd probably be more interested in the quarter winner bet for him. Mensik's quite interesting at 120s, but I think you've got to go with Medvedev at 60-1. He is pretty much favourite or slight second favourite to win his quarter. So you're saying he's probably going to win his quarter, got a very good chance of winning his quarter, which puts him in the semis. And then, as I said, if something does happen to Alcaraz, then you're on a winner there.
Well, I mean, it doesn't make any sense at 60-1 because, like I said in that quarter section, he's +350 to win his quarter. So he wins his quarter, he's +350. If you work out, he's 30-1 to make the final, so +350 times, that's about a 8-1 shot. So you're saying that whoever he plays in the semi-final, if he gets there, Medvedev is going to be 8-1 to win that match. Well, the only person he's going to be anywhere near that kind of price is Alcaraz, and even then he's
not
going to
be
probably a little bit short, probably 6-1, maybe 5-1. But if Alcaraz gets beat, the argument is he can be favourite against anybody. Yeah, against anybody. So
last year at Wimbledon he was 1.33 Alcaraz. Medvedev was +265.
Right.
In that exact same match last year. We're now saying that he's going to be about +800 for the same match. And it might not be that. It might not be Alcaraz. If it is, then so be it. If it's not, then you're onto a real winner. I think it's difficult to find value in the men's outright.
It is whatever. We're betting a 60-1 shot, and the 60-1 shots. They're 60-1 shots for a reason. The likelihood is we're going to see Alcaraz v Sinner, but +1, +120, and +190. Good luck if you want to have a go at that. If that's your style of betting, good luck. Play that market. But mathematically, the 60-1, the 30-1 price for Medvedev to get to the final is the wrong price. He has got a difficult quarter. We know this is wide open. There's a lot of players in there.
I think his early section is actually
looks
quite
a big
kind.
price.
Sorry, mate. I thought.
Fritz. I mean, Fritz is difficult. I mean, I know he's got that tough draw, but Berrettini, Zverev, Hurkacz has gone now, I suppose, as well. So,
it could only be one of Berrettini or Zverev. I doubt it would be Berrettini because of the fitness. Zverev, he's beaten on many, many times, including on grass. So you could arguably make him favourite for that. His actual little mini section, he's got Bonzi, an injured Jordan Thompson, Capriva, Safulin, Arthur Ferry, and Popyrin, who's not that much on grass. So it's a good section for Medvedev. And once he gets going, and as I said, Fritz is no certainty to get through. So, yeah, I think that's definitely the value for me. Yeah, 60-1, I think.
Yeah, and he's obviously got to the final, beaten by Bublik in Halle, and beat Zverev, beat Mickelson, beat Halys on the way to that final as well. So he has got some grass court form, played well, player that's obviously a former major champion. You get him at 60-1. 30-1, half the odds with Bet Rivers. Get across to the Bet Rivers website now. I do not believe that 60-1 price will be there when the tournament starts on Monday. Before the tournament starts on Monday, tomorrow we'll have the Betting Weekly Game Bet Match first round best bet show. Myself and Sean will be going through all the best bets on the first round. We're also going to do the same with Roy Girano. We've just recorded a WTA show with Roy looking at the women's draw as well. It's another good show. Loads of content this week. Betting Weekly Tennis Live Monday through to Wednesday from looking at all the best in play. The Betting Weekly newsletter is out now. The Betting Weekly guide to Wimbledon Championships. Worth saying that the picks were made before the draw there. I have to sort of emphasise that. And that was done. And that will be out in your inbox now. You can subscribe to that at bettingweeklystudios.com. But the most important thing that I really want you to do is hit that subscribe button. That's what I keep saying. We have now got 9,600. So exactly 400 short of our target of 10,000. Hopefully we cash some tickets. You'll enjoy the content. Tell your friends. Hit that subscribe button. That is what we want. This is the fastest growing sports betting YouTube channel, bar none. And we want to hit that 10,000 subscribers much quicker. And during Wimbledon will be an absolute fantastic achievement for us to do so. Sean, we are back tomorrow. So, the ice cream man's here now. Can you do the ice cream man's here?
I can.
I'm going to go and get a nice. Going to go and get a nice ice cream now because it's a hot day. I'm back. So we're back tomorrow. No Westwood Wicket. It is my birthday tomorrow, Sean.
Happy birthday for tomorrow.
Thank you very much. We'll be back talking tennis tomorrow. The first round of Wimbledon. The matches are. Always look forward to the first round of Wimbledon show. Sean will be working hard tonight, so you don't have to do the work. Everything will be here on the Betting Weekly Studios. Hope you've enjoyed the content. Have a nice sleep. Wimbledon is fast approaching Monday. Hit that subscribe button. Subscribe to the newsletter. Give us a like. Give us your pick. Who do you think is going to win Wimbledon? Let us know. But most importantly, be lucky. Take care, and we'll speak to you all again tomorrow.